You can gleam and beam and light up the world. Hold on, you're not ready. Be careful losing yourself. The foundations are dissolved, right? Love is on the line. Let me keep going. Let me keep going. Oh my God, I can't get through the Neptune. It's a big subject. An elephant of a video. Hi, my friends. This is Meredith, your evolutionary astrologer, and today I have an elephant of a video to give you. We are going to talk about those early degrees in Aries in your gorgeous natal chart, and we're going to talk about the great conjunction between Neptune and Saturn at those early degrees. So I want you to get out your gorgeous natal chart. I want you to go hunt and see where you have that 0, 1, 2 degrees of Aries in your chart, and that is the place in your chart that we're talking about. So if you have a planet there, it matters. Yes, it does. It means this is extra important, and listen up. If you are an Aries rising, especially at those early degrees, this really, really matters. If you are an early Aries, it matters. If you have your moon in Aries, it matters. Venus, Mars, yes, it matters. If you are having your Saturn return, oh my God, this video is for you. But let's say you are like me and you have absolutely nothing in Aries. That's okay. You still have 0, 1, 2, 3 degrees of Aries in your chart somewhere. And now that house, the meaning of that house is being lit up for you, and it is no small thing. This conjunction is so massive, it's so huge that, to be honest with you, I was going to teach about it in my upcoming Nice workshop. I hope you are coming to Nice, France with me, August 28th, 29th, 30, and 31. And originally I was going to teach about this transit in an 8-hour workshop. But what I decided to do instead was change the curriculum a little bit. And I'm going to teach you how to find the great story in your own natal chart instead. That's going to be my new curriculum in Nice, along with 2 other days of instruction, just the deeper understanding of the ascendant, the part that not very many people talk about. And I'm also going to be talking about the rulers of each one of your houses in your natal chart. So that's my Nice curriculum. I decided instead to break up this Neptune conjunct Saturn in Aries in a couple of videos to give to everybody on my YouTube channel. We are going to start with this. I also want to tell you that I'm doing shorts right now around transiting Neptune in Aries through the houses. So if you haven't been watching my shorts, I really recommend that you do that. And I do go through all the houses. However, I will do a more in-depth video about Saturn in Aries through the houses and Neptune in Aries through the houses. You can see how big this is, right? So here's what I want to tell you. This is the great conjunction. However, you need to understand the difference between Neptune and Saturn. So we're going to talk a lot about what this great conjunction can bring to us by having also looked at the past. What did it bring to us in the past? And then we're going to talk a lot about what Neptune does and what Saturn does independent of one another. And then what are some potential outcomes, predictions, by putting them together. So when you have a conjunction that is this tight and they're already conjunct, they're already in Aries, this happened around the 25th of May, where both of them landed in Aries, and we've got Saturn at 0 degrees and we had Neptune at 1 degree. Now, even with these outer planets, a lot of astrologers only take an orb of 5 or 3. I will consider, I have an open mind and an open heart to feeling the energy even within 10 degrees. So if you have your sun between 0 and 10 degrees, or your moon or any planet in Aries between 0 and 10 degrees, I still would consider it. I would be open to seeing if you feel this in your life, if this is playing out. And maybe it's not. Maybe it's 10 degrees away. Maybe it's 11 degrees away and you absolutely don't feel it. Well, then you don't. But I at least open my mind and heart for consideration if you have a planet within 10 degrees of where this transit's taking place today. And today I'm recording this on June 8th, and we have Neptune at 2 degrees and we have Saturn at 0 degrees Aries. So it's a very tight conjunction still. If you have anything in Aries up to 12 degrees, I would check and see if you feel like this is relevant. And if it's not yet relevant, it soon shortly will be. If you have planets between those last degrees of Pisces, so between like 22 degrees Pisces. That is a very, very wide conjunction to this aspect that's happening right now. This aspect's going to stay with us for a very long time. And it's very important because it's about to shape our entire world. Wherever you're living in the world, the whole world is being reshaped right now. I also want to tell you that if you have those degrees, so 22 degrees Pisces all the way to 12 degrees Aries for right now, if you have those on an angle, the ascendant, the IC, the descendant, or the midhaven, this is pretty massive because those are the major corridors to the chart. These are like the arteries into the heart of the chart, and the angles really matter. And I really recommend that you watch my video on the angles in the chart so you can understand that those are fault lines. Right? Those are the heartbeat, and they're really, really important. Wherever you have 0 degrees Aries, I'm not going to say it each time, but take the 10-degree conjunction from Pisces all the way to Aries each time I talk about this specific point. So anything between 22 Pisces and 12 Aries for right now, wherever you have in your chart, even again, if you don't have any planets or an angle like me, I don't have anything, but it's still massively critical and massively important because of the house in which this 0 degrees, 0, 1, and 2 degrees Aries sits in. It's a big house, and that house is being lit up. And I want you to think of literally a warrior angel. Yes, regarding this part of your life. This is no small thing. So these planets are transiting that house. So Neptune, let's talk about it. Let's go into this. And it's going to probably take me a couple of videos, but you guys need to know about this. And it's important to maybe listen to different people's interpretations of this aspect. And I hope that mine really resonates with you. I want you to think about this house being lit up as the angelic warrior house. This is like a spiritual revolution, a spiritual revelation for you. Neptune has moved into the sign of Aries for the very first time since the 1800s, 1861 to be exact. Oddly, this was literally the day before the American Civil War. Of course, none of us were alive, but we've read the history books and we know that people were driven by a desire for deep transformational change and even spiritual change. The North just knew that slavery was a disgusting, evil, inhumane act, and they wanted change. So people were driven by a compassion for others, and they were willing to fight and die for their belief. Think of yourself. Which side of the war would you be standing on if it was happening today? What side of the situation would you be standing on? And I want to also ask you an honest question. Do you see an echo chamber happening of that time? Do you see the echo chamber? It's another version of a similar theme. Sad, isn't it? I want to tell you that Neptune was in Aries from 1861 to 1875. Neptune stays in the sign for about 14 years. Neptune in Aries ended the legalization of slavery in the United States. And in 1863, so Neptune moved into Aries in 1861. So it doesn't all happen on the bada bing, bada boom day, right? But in 1863, we had something called the Emancipation Proclamation, which gave freedom back to those who were exploited, or just maybe I shouldn't even say back, because a lot of people were born into slavery, but it gave freedom to those who were exploited as slaves in the United States. This was an interesting time because Aries is combative and antagonistic and courageous and aggressive, and Neptune wants to be peaceful and nonviolent. Neptune wants to prevail with love. We're at odds with Neptune and Aries. It's uncomfortable. And I want to tell you something else, just a little personal side story, if I can. We went to South Carolina on April 5th, just a couple months ago. And my husband told me that my daughter and I should go see Drayton Hall, which is, I believe it's the oldest slave plantation in the United States of America. If it isn't the oldest standing plantation, it's one of the very oldest. Anyways, I went there with my daughter. She's studying cultural anthropology at the university, and she loves understanding people, societies. So it's not the study of bones, but it's the study of cultures. We went to the slave plantation, and I felt like I could hear and see and feel the cries, the suffering, the sadness in the walls of that plantation home. On the day that those slaves were freed, they walked to the end of the plantation. The cultural storyteller, historian told us they walked to the end of the plantation and they looked left and they looked right. And I'm telling you, it is still in the middle of freaking nowhere. And it's hot, 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 almost unlivable temperatures. I don't know how they lived without air conditioning, but they did. Anyways, they got to the end of the plantation and many of them turned around and came back to Drayton Hall and they didn't leave. And it's not because they were treated really wonderfully well. It's because even though the Emancipation Proclamation gave them their freedom, at this point, a 65-year-old African man in America living as a slave didn't know where to go. So a lot of them got their freedom, but didn't even know how to embody it. Many did, but many didn't. And so it was a great learning lesson. And now that I was thinking about Neptune moving into Aries, I'm really glad I went and got the education on Drayton Hall. It was just a heart explosion and a sadness too. When we put these two in combination, I'm just talking right now only about Neptune and Aries. We're going to talk a little bit about the conjunction with Saturn in a minute, but I want you to understand the Neptune and Aries and how mind-boggling this energy is. As I said, we've got combat, right? And then we have spirituality, love, empathy, and nurturance at the highest degree. So the god of war meets spirituality at the cosmic level. And I think Neptune at the highest form is God's love, divine love, and unconditional love. So now, right, we become a spiritual warrior in the name of loving other people, in the name of loving other people that don't believe what we believe, don't look like what we look like, aren't the same as us, celebrating our differences. But when we put these two in combination with one another, I think we're going to get a desire, a willpower. We will want to use our life force energy to advance compassion and empathy for the independence of other people at a global level. I also believe that people, this is just in general, we're going to look at it in your chart in a minute, but people will not be willing to become a slave to a government or to a social system or somebody who has domain over you. Aries moves us forward. Aries does not go backward. Aries is like the shark in the zodiac world because Aries goes forward and it does not circle back around. It does not go backwards. No. Aries propels us forward and into the future. And you will see that let freedom ring will actually eventually win this war. This is a spiritual war. Where in your chart, what house is lighting up? And that is where you will feel like you have to take on the establishment of that oppression in your own life. So if this is in the fourth house, do you need to break free from your family that's trying to hold you into their belief system and it costs you a little bit of your independence, right? Or is this in your seventh house? Do you need to break free from some relationships that have you in a box or your career, right? Or your third house, your siblings, or your voice? Do you need to let your voice be free? So wherever this is happening in your own chart, you're being asked to become a pioneer. You're being asked to be spiritually brave. You're being asked to really develop your faith. You're being asked to be a spiritual warrior for yourself, and then healing, helping the world heal, or helping that house in your chart heal, and then offering your healing to others who are in need. I'm also going to tell you that you might be needing to break free wherever this is happening in your chart, or live off the grid, meaning live in the atypical way, become a little bit more independent, your own person, and to prepare yourself to become more independence on the subject matter of where this house is taking place. If this is touching a planet, and that's probably going to have to be a different video, but like if this is on your sun, this is about you gaining your own independence and wanting to rely less on the systems and structures that are bossing you around, whether that's the federal government or whether that's your boss at work or your family or your parents. So Neptune entered Aries. It left Pisces, bye-bye Pisces, on March 30th, 2025. And then it will stay in Aries, but mark this on your calendar, because on October 22nd of this year, 2025, it's going to retrograde back into Pisces for a little bit. It will stay there October, November, December, till January 26th, 2026. So 1/26/2026, write that down. It re-enters Aries and it will stay there, I believe, until 2039. So for 14 years. And this transit, actually, you get a Neptune return once every 165 years. Let's talk about Neptune. And that's when I was talking about the Civil War. So 165 years, you won't even be alive. We won't even get to see what that Neptune return is going to look like, the next Neptune in Aries. That's for generations to come. But we want to leave this world a great place for others, right? So they can pick up our torch and run with it, run with the light. So Neptune is the great dissolver, and it dissolves systems and structures that have become oppressive, suppressive, that have ensconced us, enslaved us, or have become too rigid or riddled. It also dissolves illusions. Yes. And its action is very subtle. It's like when the water washes up over a boulder and eventually it turns it into a grain of sand. So you often don't see it coming. It seeps in sometimes and it changes things outside of you being aware of it. So if I'm watching you sleep at night, I'm not actually seeing your bones grow and you're 9 years old. I'm not seeing your bones elongate. I'm not seeing you get taller. But the next time I see you, I can see that your pants are too short. That is Neptune. So you can't necessarily see it with the naked eye. But I'm telling you, the foundations in our world are dissolving. And the foundations, I believe, are Saturnian foundations, government, power, right? The concrete power of Saturn. But that's for later, because first I want you to understand Neptune. Neptune is the dissolver. Neptune is the salt on the slug, sadly. The foundations are dissolved, right? It's like the rain coming through your roof. You don't even realize that you have a leak until the water is falling onto your floor through the roof. You don't really realize that you even are inside something that has dissolution or is dissolving until the foundation has been cracked. Then you realize what is really going on. I'm going to tell you that wherever you have the 0 degrees Aries, you might have lost a little bit of faith in the system. You might feel like you need to dissolve the system in order to rebuild it in a new way. Like you've lost faith in your roof that it's going to stay up. So you need to go build a new roof. So you could have lost, if this is the 11th house, you could have lost faith inside your community. If it's in the 9th house, you could lose faith in the laws or even government, the truth. You might have lost faith in the truth. I'll tell you that you could also really desire to choose to lose reality, to go into escapism, to go into sports betting, gaming, pornography, drugs, alcohol, living in sort of a creative illusion, fairy tale, virtual reality. I know I want to live in my fairy garden. Just want to escape right into it, right? Losing yourself in escapist tendencies. So be careful with wherever you have that 0 degrees Aries. That's where this escapist desire is coming in from. And you could also really take on ideology. You could take on what is ideal, and I'm going to fight for the idealism of that concept. And I think some ideals, for example, white nationalism, is absolutely disgusting, but you will see people will take up causes that are not your ideal, but they're their ideal, right? So what is ideal? For me, ideal is utopian, a happy place for all people. That's me. But I want to tell you, this is a time when you could get caught up in cult-like activities. You could even be ruined by somebody who has charismatic dominance over you. Sadly, we just lost a dear friend to a very serious cult, a religious cult, and we can't get him back. He's really gone. He's gone in his mind. He's gone in his heart. He's gone in his spirituality. And it happened literally overnight when he had a crisis in his life and he sought out a guru who convinced him that he is worthless unless he attaches to the guru. So there can be a brainwashing right now. And by the way, we have been in this already for quite a while because we have had Neptune in Pisces for the last 14 years. And we've also had Saturn in Pisces. So it's a theme that's being reiterated, right, since 2023. So we've already been seeing a lot of this. And so now with it moving into Aries, though, it's going to change the vibration. We're not going to feel as lost. We're not going to feel like we can just sweep things under the rug. No, now we got to fight. Now we got to be courageous. Now we need to be pioneers in our own life because it's almost like with Aries there, it's going to explode or implode. I really hope that you aren't just an escapist and just a mole in the hole, burying your head to the things that you really believe in and want to change. But there are people that just won't be able to handle the vibration and they will just hunker down in their bunker. You have to ask yourself, does your ideological spiritual warrior, what you truly want to fight for, is it even doable? Is it pragmatic? Well, collectively, we're pretty powerful. Individually, not as powerful. What I want to do is I want you to take a spiritual perspective around this transit. I want you to try to see through the illusions of power. And I also want you to know that this is a very long transit. This is, Neptune in Aries for 14 years. You're going to get spiritual clarity. It's just going to require some patience. The things that in your life that won't hold up are the illusions that you have been living with. Neptune in Aries really wants to dissolve the illusions and the delusions around religion, around spirituality, around fantasy-based thinking. We're going to see those themes play out loudly. Let's talk about you specifically. Wherever you have Neptune in Aries transiting in your chart, let's talk about some positive things, okay? So this is where you're going to dream bigger. This house placement, and whatever planets it touches, you have to consider those planets. And you can just think of if it touches a planet, it's just really important to work on. But your dreams, your hopes, your wishes, your idealism is going to be revamped right now. And I think you're going to be more courageous to dream bigger and to embrace an idealism or an ideal way of life where you never have imagined it before. Imagine that you're in the Civil War. Imagine that you are an African that has come to America and you have been relegated into slavery and now you are invisible and you were not invisible in the country that you came from. And now you've been living in that situation for 20 years or so, right? Let's just pretend. And somebody whispers in your ear that Neptune is about to move into Aries and you will be free. But you have never experienced that. As a matter of fact, you've only experienced the brutality of others at the hand of others. And somebody says, no, you'll be free. That is this aspect. So it's like dreaming the impossible dream and truly believing that it will come true and having the faith. I also want to tell you whatever house this is landing in, you're being encouraged to give more than you take, to teach, to lend, to share yourself. So if this is in the 8th house, it's to share your ability to transform energy. If this is in your 9th house, share your wisdom. If this is in your 3rd house, share your voice, share your knowledge, share the book that you're reading. If this is your 6th house, share your animals. Maybe you get rescue animals and you send them out to nursing homes. Share your sense of service, share your ability to be effective and helpful. If this is in your 1st house, share yourself. So I want to tell you that wherever these early degrees of Aries are in your chart, you might feel this house a little bit. You might feel dissatisfied or a longing or a wanting for more. Like, I'm not satisfied. It's not good enough. I don't want to be enslaved and ensconced into the obligations of this house in my natal chart. And so you might feel discontentment at first. You might feel a spiritual ache, a spiritual longing for more. That's okay. That energy has to show up before the Aries courage can pioneer into creating new energy. This is also where you might feel massively creative, where you just are now downloading. When I had my girlfriends over, I had a girls' slumber party, and I did little miniature, tiny little readings for them about their moon signs, just for fun. It wasn't even readings. It was just a conversation. But my one girlfriend said, Meredith, you actually, when you talk about the different moons or the different energies, I see you transform into that energy. I see you actually become the energy that you speak of. And that's kind of what this Neptune in Aries will allow you to do. Will allow you to channel in a much more bold and passionate way where there's no rhyme or reason. It's just instinctual. So if you are an artist, it's like the dance just drops down into you. The poetry just becomes you. If you are, I don't know if you guys have ever been to a poetry slam, but that's one of my favorite forms of art because the poet becomes the poem. That is this place. So where is this in your chart? And I want to also tell you that you might have really overinflated expectations or dreams or wishes or hope. It's okay. It's okay, right? What do they say? Shoot for the stars and you might land on the moon. Neptune at those early degrees of Aries, right now it's at 2 degrees Aries, can also show you sort of where you're at on your karmic contract right now that you are supposed to experience. We are going to, now this could be you individually. Yeah, what are you doing in your house? But I want you to also think collectively. But we might see massive creativity in science. Now, while it might not be at Harvard or it might not be in the United States, since we're dismantling all of our science programs, not really, but kind of, we might just see this in the world, or there might be an emergence of really brilliant minds where we can have massive creative breakthroughs in science and medicine and in space too, because this is the great pioneer. So we're going to pioneer into new fields, new industrious fields. And this could also be with our water, with technological advancement, and definitely AI is going to transform our lives forever. I hope it's for the better. And you're also going to see that the highest octave of Neptune embraces the arts. And if you guys really want to understand Neptune and the meaning of Neptune, I cannot encourage you enough. Please go buy my Neptune workshop that I did in Barcelona, Spain. You can get it at teamsoulnavigation.com. And I show you a video. I show you Pavarotti singing this video, and I show you when he's in his Venus Entertainer and he's singing to like 40,000, 60,000 people in an open amphitheater in Santa Monica, California. And I literally show you this point in time where he leaves his Venus self, his Venus body, and he literally goes into the ethereal realm, God's realm, his fated realm, his destined realm, his final realm, his resting peace realm. He had prostate cancer, I believe, or pancreatic cancer. Anyways, he had cancer, and this was one of his last concerts that he ever did. And you literally see him leave his body. You see him Neptune himself. And so this is the kind of artistic, creative qualities that can be expressed and explored and enhanced and embraced right now. And so this can be very creative thinking in the 3rd house, massively creative in the 5th house. And I really recommend that you watch my shorts because I do talk about this Neptune transiting the houses. And it is short, it's not long. It's 1 to 3 minutes. I just want you guys to kind of understand Neptune moving through the houses, and don't just understand your house, understand them all. Why? Because you're going to have transits of other planets in those houses. And that's a great way to learn about how the houses work. I also think that this is going to be a time of great human transformation, empathetic realm, the nurturing realm, the love realm. I think you're going to see that we are going to have to fight again, but we will be fighting loudly to love whom we wish to love with Neptune in Aries. That could mean, hey, mom and dad, I have a right to divorce when you have grown up in a family where divorce is illegal. Or, hey, I have a right to be independent. I don't have to get married if you are in a religion that says you need to get married and you need to have children, right? No, I don't want to. Or if it's at the collective level where if you want to love a man and you're a man, it's okay. If you're a trans woman and you want to love a trans man, it's okay. I just want you to know that I think love is on the line. Yeah, love is on the line. Where Neptune is transiting in your natal chart, you're being asked to be adaptable. You're being asked to be more affectionate. You're being asked to tap into your altruism, your awareness of higher states of consciousness, find your highest best self, be broad-minded, be boundless, be limitless, be bedazzling, light up the world, be in your bliss, be in your clairvoyance, your clairaudience, your clairsentience, be more compassionate, be more empathetic, emotional, and you will also see come from a more egoless state, become endearing, become exotic, become ecstatic, become in touch with your emotions, become more endearing. I want you to really realize that Neptune is about giving, not taking. So be generous through the theme and the house and the planet that Neptune at 2 degrees Aries is touching. Be more gentle, be more glamorous, be more gregarious, be friendlier, kinder. I want you to feel like you can gleam and beam and light up the world. This is where you can also become more impressionable, inspirational, empowering, idealistic, intuitive, loving, loyal, magnetic, mystical, one with all, romantic. This is a house in which you can seduce people and you can become more sentimental and spiritual and sensitive and sensual and sympathetic and soft and soulful and sparkly and saint-like. And this is how you can become a savior and selfless and tender and timid and tolerant and more tranquil and transcendent and unselfish. You can vibrate at a larger level, a brighter level. This is where you can become a visionary in your own life. This is where you can actually become more vulnerable and win. This is where you can be more warm, more witty, and more wondrous. Yeah, do that twice. There's a lot of negative things that come with Neptune too, but I'm not going to go through all of them. But I want to tell you that this is where you can experience sort of a split personality and inferiority complex, addictions, extravagance, escapism, where you can become hysterically, overly emotional, and you can buy into and believe the illusions and the delusions, and you can become a victim. But we're not going to let you do that. We're not going to let you do that. So for the next 14 years until 2039, I want you with this ingress into Aries to become all those wonderful things, wondrous things, the gleaming, beaming light that channels like Pavarotti, the higher voice, the higher octave of love into your life. I just turned into a preacher. I want to tell you that you're going to be focused on the collective consciousness right now, the collective masses of our globe. And I'm going to also tell you that you're going to see and feel new mindsets like, wow, I used to be so limited in my belief system and now I'm not. Wow, I really am open to astrology, where 5 years ago I would have never considered it. Sit in your longingness for more happiness and more divine bliss and love, tranquility and peacefulness, because you're going to see that the power inside whatever silo you're living in. I think Neptune wants to dissolve the top-down hierarchical systems and structure and the power of man, if you will, going up the food chain, if you will. Man and food chain are in air quotes, and more distributed evenly to the masses, to humanity. It isn't just a top-down, man structure anymore, or power structure, I should say, but now power, you'll see that there will be a movement where the people, the masses, want to spread the power amongst the collective. Neptune also, hold on, you're not ready, represents the forces of nature. Hurricanes, tornadoes, floods, tsunamis, and even wind. Nature and fate are going to have a very large hand at changing this world, and they will blow through, sweep through, flood our consciousness. They will force us to live differently now. You'll see that it will change the power structure. Aries, let's talk about Aries just really quickly. Aries we know is powerful, courageous, but Aries focuses on the individual. Neptune focuses on the masses. We're already in conflict. Right? We're already in conflict. You will see that we will become collectively, the masses will become focused on individual freedoms for individuals, individual groups, or just people. Individual liberation and freedom. Let freedom ring for all. Human rights, the human condition, the human consciousness, wellness, medicine, taking care of one another is a human right. You'll see that Neptune in Aries wants to advance our human freedoms and our spiritual freedoms from being oppressed and repressed and suppressed, bossed, dominated, told what to do, controlled, under my thumb, ensconced and enslaved into systems that just ring hollow. I look at some of my friends and my husband in a corporate job, and it is sometimes he doesn't feel this. He manages it really, really well. But his job is not his necessarily like hobby or passion. He is very good at it, but I think it's very soul sucking. He happens to work for a very compassionate company, but a lot of people don't. A lot of people treat their worker bees as numbers, work harder, work harder. I live in a town that it has where Costco is headquartered. And I think Costco is such an example of a company that runs on humanity. Every single person I know that works at Costco, I wouldn't necessarily say, oh, they're madly in love with their job, but they do like how it's run. They feel like it's kind. Now, I don't know if that will be the truth, a month from now or a week from now, but I've just experienced that with Costco in our town. But you're going to see individual liberation is a key theme for the next 14 years, not just for yourself. I'm not trans, but I want my trans friends to have the same rights as I have. I want my gay friends to be able to be married, right? I want you to be able to adopt a baby no matter what your background is, if you want to adopt a baby. But Neptune wants choices, and Aries will fight for the option for you and for others to have those choices. Aries will fight for the options to have choices, not choices for one, choices for all. Oh my God, I can't get through the Neptune. It's a big subject. That's why when I taught my Neptune workshop in Barcelona, I talked for like 6 hours. We edited into 3 hours, but it was a 6-hour workshop. You might find that a lot of us will be in survival mode, especially those who feel oppressed and repressed by the system, by the structures. I want you to think of Neptune and Aries as both combat and war, and it's nonviolent love. And so it's interesting how this will play out, right? I also want to tell you that you could see people really living off the grid, like unplugging, getting an RV and traveling across the country. And I don't need a school. I'm going to homeschool. I'm going to learn on my own. I don't need to go to I don't need to go to the grocery store to buy, milk and eggs, because I'm going to get my own cow and my own chickens, right? Like you'll see that a lot of people, that's how people will reclaim their independence, independent from the food supply chain. If you have this loudly in your chart, and no matter what house you have this in your chart, this is a time where you can be a source of great, powerful, creative inspiration, where you can maximize your spiritual capacity and you can share it with others. Neptune in Aries has this amazing otherworldly vitality and a strength to survive like no other combination. It's almost like you can download your power. And there is huge, huge, huge potential breakthroughs for society and for you personally to tap into a new artistic and creative potential and a newfound faith along that artistic expression or potential. When you think about it, this is the time when the Impressionists in France, especially, and in Europe, when they broke free from the limitations of art and they discovered their new art. And they reinvented what art is. All the Impressionist painters. And by the way, Edgar Degas is my favorite Impressionist artist. He is my absolute favorite. I grew up with a painting of his in my bedroom. It was a print. And I've had it reframed 3 times in a style that has kind of grown up with me over the years. I absolutely love him. But you're going to see that we will find a newfound freedom through art and through our artistic expression right now. Now we have to talk briefly, and this is only briefly, I'll do a way bigger video on this, with Saturn conjuncting Neptune in the early degrees of Aries. So the Saturn-Neptune conjunction brings together these completely opposite archetypes that don't even understand each other. But we've been dealing with this because we've had Saturn in Pisces for a very, very long time. Now we have Saturn and Pisces planetary ruler Neptune in a conjunction together. And Saturn, what does Saturn want to do? It wants to bring structure to things. It wants to build things that we can see, touch, feel in the world. Saturn wants to build the real world. This is an iPhone. This is an iPhone. Saturn doesn't want to mince its words. It wants to innovate for reality. And Neptune wants to dissolve these very earthbound structures. Neptune lives wherever you have Neptune. Neptune lives in the intangible world. I am sort of, I speak in metaphor and I speak in creative analogy. So most of my stories are metaphor or creative analogy. Hopefully they're factual too, but I tell the facts through story. So I have Neptune conjunct my Mercury. So just look in your own chart and see where you have Neptune, because this is where you have an attachment to the intangible world. What is the intangible world? It's the story. It's the color. How would you describe a color? It's everything that's intangible. Hope, love, fear, empowerment, inspiration, faith, love, hatred. It's everything. It's escapism. It is the imagination. So it starts in here. Neptune starts in here. Neptune is the idea of the iPhone, not the making of the iPhone. It was the envisionment, right? It was the iPhone being envisioned by Steve Jobs. God bless that man. And he is a Pisces. So Neptune is also how and where you will find the irony in your life, or how you will be ironic, how you will understand irony. It is the enigma in your chart. It is the mysteriousness, and it is the love that you can feel but not necessarily see. If I bring you flowers, I am concretizing my love, right? I'm showing you my love. But if I just hold you with my energy, right, and I just feed you full of positive energy, well, that's love that you can feel if I hold your hand. If we are conscious, if we are healthy, if you come from your highest best self, you can work with both of these opposite energies in a really positive way. So Saturn and Neptune together literally makes dreams come true, concretizes your dream, helps us put love into the real world. With both of these planets in Aries, it helps us to love courageously and live courageously. And it helps us to deepen our faith courageously, believe in the impossible. I mean, who would have said the iPhone was possible? Oh my God. Do you realize how crazy this is? Who would have said having robots in our life was, really possible? I mean, imagine if you were in caveman days and you were like, hey, one day you're going to fall in love with a robot and get married to a robot. They're like, what? So this combination with Saturn and Neptune in Aries can make us take a great stance for people in need, for people who need freeing, including yourself, or for people who need help, including yourself. Neptune and Saturn in Aries inspires creativity in the real world. The iPhone, hope in the real world. Do you see all those people banding together to make a difference in life? Yes. Faith. And in the real world, turning faith from a mental concept into reality helps us believe in something worth working or fighting really, really hard for. Saturn is highly responsible. It's not afraid of hard work. And Aries is courageous and pioneering and strong and capable of doing the work. It brings the life force energy, the chi. So since 2023, with Saturn being in Pisces, we've been taking the prerequisite course for this. And now we're going to see very clearly with Neptune and Saturn in Aries. Aries is very black and white. Yes or no, on or off. I'm coming over. I'm not. I don't mince words. I'm not a Libra. I'm not saying yes and no at the same time. I'm saying no. Do you hear me? I'm saying no. Or are you hearing me? I say yes. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. Right? It is the conviction that the person has when they go up to jump out of an airplane. Yes, I'm doing it. You're not standing at the edge of the airplane going, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. No, you're jumping and saying yes. So, I mean, I'm sure some people are saying no. I'm saying no, but some people are saying yes. You have to be determined. So there's a determination with this Aries. And I think we are going to see the things worth fighting for. And I think we will be less confused on where we stand or what we're seeing. I think we are going to individually and collectively say, no, that's where we draw our boundary. No, I don't like that. No, I don't like this. No, I don't believe in slavery. No, I don't believe in oppression. It's less confusing. The game that's being played out there in the world is more obvious and straightforward. So missions and agendas will be loud and they will be out front, whether you like them or not. You'll know what you're dealing with. It's not going to be the trickster energy anymore. Also, Jupiter's moving into Cancer. It's not trickster energy anymore. The Gemini, both things at the same time. No, you're not seeing what you're seeing. No, that's a lie. You're not seeing what you're seeing. Woo, that's not happening anymore. It's very, very out in front. This is spiritual warrior inside of you coming into manifestation to fight for the things that you really believe in and that you want to concretize in your own chart. And you will see it simultaneously playing out there in the big world too. So the mission in your life, depending on where the early degrees of Aries is, and that Saturn Neptune transit in your chart, the mission is going to come into the spiritual warrior mission, concretizing your dreams, hopes, and realities. And go back to the part of the video where I told you what Neptune means, like when it's at its high in its highest form. It's going to come into high focus right now. And these planets in the sign of Aries are going to bring you clarity, will, drive, ambition, power, courage. So Saturn is going to hover, stay in conjunction, stay close to, stay very tight, a little bit longer than 2027, but it's going to be in the dance until 2027. Now, you have to realize that Saturn moves much more quickly than Neptune, only 2.5 years per sign, and Neptune takes 14. So it's going to be pulling away from Neptune, but it has a lot of retrogrades. And so we're going to see this play out really strongly for the next 2 years. We're going to see Neptune, the Neptune part of this story, erode boundaries, good boundaries and bad boundaries. And we're going to see important institutions and government programs dissolve right before our very eyes. We're already seeing that. And we may even see the collapse of the good and the evil. And we may see the good guys are fragile, and then we see, well, the bad guys are fragile too. We really may see the fragility of our world and of mankind. And we may see the fragility of the human condition. But let me keep going. I kind of think that's important for us to become stronger again as a people. And I'm not talking about Americans, I'm talking about humans. So we may see that all that Saturn has built over the years sort of gets thrown away or dissolved, like throwing out the baby and the bathwater. And we may need to, in our own lives, depending on the house in which Neptune is sitting in for 14 years, we may need to draw new boundaries. You may see that the world wants to draw new boundaries between their counties and their states and their countries and their rivers and their oceans. And they may want to annex certain places, and you might see that there is a drawing of new boundaries. Boundaries is a big deal for Neptune and Saturn. Saturn wants boundaries. Neptune wants to dissolve boundaries. So I want to ask you, what were you doing in 1989? I know what I was doing. I graduated college, and that's when the Berlin Wall came down. And I was sitting in my living room with my stepdad. He was saying, Mary, I've never traveled to Europe by myself, and I know you have. And I was already a senior in college, and I had traveled around the world already. One time by myself. He said, I want to go to Germany. And the Berlin Wall was coming down at this time. And this was when Germany was reunified and when the East and West Germans became one again. I remember it well. And it was a symbolism. It was very symbolic for Eastern Europeans to become liberated from the struggle of communism and oppression. And I remember telling my dad how he can get a backpack and how he could go to Berlin. And he went there and he took pictures of himself in front of the wall, and he brought back everybody a piece of the wall, and he had it framed for each one of us, like to believe, to inspire us, to empower us, to live without hatred, to live without, to live with a unity inside our hearts. He was a very good teacher for me in that way. And he went, and I was really excited that I was a source of inspiration for him because he was much, much older than me. In 2025 and in 2026, because, it's going to go retrograde, that Neptune is going to go retrograde back into Pisces from October to January. So in 2025, and then again, when we have Neptune next year in 2026, we might, with Neptune and Saturn and Aries, we might experience a deeper separation or a polarization between people. And that's because I think we will become wounded by the separation, the polarization. We've already been feeling it. And that we need to feel that separateness in order to create a desire to heal and merge and care for one another and come together and unify again, just like the taking down of the Berlin Wall. We may need to rebel, to find our courage, to stand up for that which is not Neptunian kind. Not Neptunian kind, to prompt a deeper unity, a separateness to prompt a deeper unity. That's what I think you're seeing in the streets of, I think it's Michigan and also in Los Angeles. You're seeing a manufactured separation of the people and the National Guard to manufacture this war, if you will, this war on just humans trying to live their life, right? And then you see people coming out and unifying and saying, we don't want this. We don't want this for our neighbors. So you're seeing a unity. You're seeing that in order to truly advance your individual freedom in the house in which you have this early degrees of Aries in, you must first be courageous enough to stand up to those who want to take your freedom away or those who want to dominate you. So is that your corporation? Is that your parents? Is that your siblings? Is that your relationship? Is that your health, right? You might have to stand up to your health and wellness, your own body, and give your own body the courage and the faith, or Do you feel like God is against you? Is this Neptune in the 12th house, or your community, the 11th house, or your legacy and your career and who you want to be in the world? Is somebody trying to say no to you? No, you don't get to cut that album. No, you don't get to sing that song, right? Karen Carpenter, I did a case study on her with my family tree astrology. I hope you guys will buy it. It's family tree astrology. What is your generational inheritance, astrological inheritance? I did the Karen Carpenter story. It was very, very powerful. I want you to be able to watch it. It was one of the very best workshops I've done. But she wanted to cut her own album, a solo album without Richard, the genius of the Karen Carpenter duo, the Carpenters duo. Her brother and I think record producers said, no, we don't want your solo voice. You have to have Richard on it. So that would be very Neptune in the 10th house. Like she couldn't have her own voice. She had to have Richard on it. She did get it produced. And ironically, it's not quite as good, I don't think, as their duo. They are better together. But I'm just saying, who wants to diminish you? Who wants to put you in a box? Who is creating the template for your life? And this is a time wherever you have this happening in your chart with Neptune at those early degrees of Aries transiting that house. This is where you will want to stand up and take your power back from those who want to take it away. And you can have a more powerful voice, and collectively, we can have a more powerful collective voice right now. Wherever you have those early degrees of Aries in your own chart is where you're being asked to be a fierce spiritual warrior. I really want you to think about how this is playing out in your own life. Where are you going to stand up? How are you going to stand up? You're being asked to stand up for yourself and heal yourself where others have tried to own you, so you can actually become very, very independent inside this transit, I should say. And eventually then lend your power, your love, your incredible creativity, your spiritual knowledge and medicine, and your faith to others in need or in greater need than yourself. Your beliefs about reality are truly going to be at the fore. You will be tested around your faith wherever this is in your chart, and you will need to find a balance between Saturn and Neptune. And I only touched briefly about the Saturn-Neptune conjunction. I'll go into it more deeply. You're going to need to find a balance between having good boundaries and needing structure and security, and also needing divine transcendence, understanding the spiritual, metaphysical, mystical world, right? And the imagined world. And how can you take what you imagine to be and concretize it, crystallize it, and put it into concrete form and make it a reality? That's what's happening. And if you work with both of these energies, you can create new beginnings. You can create new projects. Your dreams and your ideals can actually take form. Neptune wants to work in the reality of the imagination, the place in your soul, the place in your mind, the place in your heart that probably can feel and see, but see with your third eye. Saturn is the concrete reality in the world. So if you dream of building a dance school, the dream of the dance school and the feeling of it and the imagination of it is the Neptunian part of the journey, and then going and finding a building and a lease, right? And the students to come to the school is concretizing the dream. Now, I do talk about Neptune at those early degrees of Aries transiting all 12 houses by transit. So in my shorts, so keep an eye on my shorts. And also I really recommend that you get my Neptune workshop at shopsoulnavigation.com and you get your gorgeous natal chart. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to do another video where we talk about Neptune through the houses in more depth. I have a few videos already on Saturn. I recommend that you watch them, but I really want you to be able to step into your creative, your sensitive, your loving, your artistic, your inspirational self. And so really pay attention to where Aries is in your chart, because it's going to take 14 years it's a long time. This is a long conversation for Neptune to transit through those houses. You might have Aries in 1, 2, or even 3. Could be 3 houses. I want you to know that you're becoming psychically aware wherever you have Neptune. Wherever you have Neptune is your psychic site. It is where you can go beyond reality and create your reality by living beyond it, right? So I hope that you have found the magic in this video. And I know that I wasn't able to cover all of it. I would probably need a whole entire day. But I hope that this launches you into something magical and beautiful, and it allows you to open up your heart to yourself And to others, where do you want to step into healing the wounds in your life through channeling divine spiritual love? Thank you for learning with me. And I also want to invite you to come to my Virgo Masterclass. It's going to be on July 20th, right after my Sunday video at around 11 a.m. Pacific time on July 20th. And we're going to be talking not just about where Virgo is in your chart. Even if you don't have a Virgo placement, I still would love for you to come and learn, because you do have a sixth house, you do have Virgo in a house, and you do have Mercury in your chart. So we're going to look at the deeper side, or I should say the Rubik's Cube of Virgo, but you have to get a ticket. And if you are a superstar super supporter, it's free. It is a perk for you, because I am so grateful for my members. And if you're a super supporter, it's only $5. And if you're not either, it's just $19. So grab it while you can. It's cheaper for everyone right now. It'll be a little bit more expensive. You'll be able to buy it as a recording too, but come and learn all about Virgo. Virgo, I think, is one of the more misunderstood signs in the zodiac. I want to really help people understand the Virgo part of their chart. I have found through my research that Virgo is utterly fascinating, and people just don't realize it. You have to get in there and bake the Virgo cake to understand how absolutely delicious it is. I hope wherever you are at in this world, I hope that love finds you, that kindness finds you, and that you are happy and healthy. And so from my house here in gorgeous Seattle, Washington, to wherever you are at in the world, I wish you the very, very best. Take good care.